and then members of the community at large, who in fact most of whom were on the committee back in 1998, and they have been charged with coming up with, I believe it's 3 distinct plans. Three distinct ways of drawing the lines which would meet these various concerns. And once the board gets that, we'll have to, make some kind of decision. I have been going to the forums that the committee had. I didn't make all of them; I made 3 of them to hear what parents were saying. And to my relief, most people really were like I was. We want the schools to reflect the community. We want them to be as mixed as the community is. We don't want anybody excluded on account of ethnic identity or income level. But the 6370 corridor is a miserable place to drive at 4:30 in the afternoon. It just is. So we'll have to figure all that out.
One other issue. Are you familiar with HB 628?
Not by the number, but I bet if you tell me what it is.
Replacing teacher tenure with.
I've said before, all that stuff is controversy that's generated by the professional parasitic political class. Those are the people who do not run for office but make a living off of advising politicians and generating controversy to gin up the voters. They're people who could not make an honest living if they weren't, doing that. Everybody who knows anything about teacher tenure knows that it protects the rights of citizens who happen to be teachers. That's especially important in small towns, it's important anywhere that you might occasionally have someone in a position of power who would take their personal issues or their other political issues into a place like a school board meeting and try to take someone's job. There are, in fact, if a teacher cannot teach, there are procedures for having them removed from the school district. And there's really no need for the Tea Party acolytes they wouldn't know what to do if they couldn't make up stuff like this. They've got nothing really else substance to build on, work on. So it's a politics of scapegoating. Blame somebody, all right? Just blame somebody. And I don't have much use for them.
Is there anything we didn't go over that you'd like to add?
Well, the achievement gap is pretty complicated. As I said, I came into this, at the suspension center. I've come to think of the suspension center as being a symptom of the achievement gap. I mean, it's not. It's only part of it. And although the community as a whole always perceives the achievement gap as being primarily the difference in college preparation and test scores and graduation rates between the black and white community, there's also the difference between the kids who are on free and reduced lunches and the kids who come from families that don't need those. So I've been spending a lot of time looking at the literature where people argue what causes all this. Okay, so I went from I went from the suspension center. The first person I went to ask about that after I got the details about it was the director of the Positive Behavior Support System, which is the theory of teaching self-discipline that's employed in the school district. And this was just coming online in the school district when I was a substitute teacher in 2005, 2006. And basically, it's one half of the dynamic between behavior and curriculum. The theories with PBS is, and the general idea is good. We bring attention to the kids who are doing well, reinforce that, try to bring less attention to the kids who are not doing right. Okay, but it's a whole program, and every school's got their own little way of doing it. First question I had was, when are we supposed to see positive results of this? as the cohorts move up through the class. I mean, if it started 6 years ago, those kids who were in kindergarten then are now in middle school. Are we seeing a difference in their behavior? Are we seeing a reduction in suspension rates? And the kids that were in third grade 6 years ago are now freshmen. So I wanted to know, is this program in fact bearing fruit? I mean, is it going to is the suspension center issue just a blip? It's like the last tail end of another kind of problem that is in fact being remediated through the PBS system or not, right? And the reason that's important to me is because you have the minority members of the board and other people in the community who will say, look, the problem is we have curriculum methods that simply do not work effectively, especially on the kids who are least prepared to be in school. So you can push on their behavior, till the sun, freezes over, however you want. Just it will not work, okay? Because the reason kids are in trouble is not because they can't act like they should. It's because they have no reason or motive to act like they should, because they're not succeeding in school. So they feel, why be there, right? So and so I try to emphasize to people, I'm doing what I can to figure that out, to understand what the arguments are. If the curriculum methods are not working, then no amount of trying to improve those some people call it teach kids how to go to school, teach kids to play school. No amount of that's going to succeed if the curriculum methods are failing. That's why it's really important to me that we get some deadlines on the new language curriculum in the elementary schools. I spent half day in each of the elementary schools for about 2 weeks. Well, not in each of. Let me correct. I was in almost all the schools when I was a substitute teacher. When I went back to visit as a candidate, I wanted to spend as much time as I could in a particular classroom. So I just went to the elementary schools and I picked out about 7 or 8 of them that I had particular interest in for different reasons, like Benton, okay, or Alpha Hart. And then I would spend a half hour, 40 minutes in a different class, and then move to another one and spend half hour, 40 minutes there. I wanted so I could see the Pearson program and math instruction are the main 2 things I was looking at. So I want to get out there and see how that's being done, because some people will say that if it's an effective program, the district should see improved scores after 1 complete year. So we've got 1 semester now that the teachers are kind of getting up to speed, going up the learning curve. Next year, we start at the beginning. By the spring or a year from now, when the MAP scores or when MAP tests are taken again, if the program is effective, we should see scores that have improved. Now, that's this person's opinion. They kind of know what they're talking about. Someone else may disagree. I'm going to try to figure out when we should see a difference. And although I don't know what that timeline is yet, I do know that we're going to have to find one, and that if we meet that timeline and nothing has changed, we're going to have to conclude that that's an experiment that has failed. Okay, and in which case the minority on the board at the time who objected to its introduction will have had their thesis demonstrated, confirmed. You could ask me about construction. I'm convinced we're going to have to, I'm almost pretty sure we're going to have to build some new schools. One is on the charts already, but the people who are on the secondary planning committee put high efficacy in the data that's being provided them, and they're pretty convinced that the district's going to need more schools. And the building facilities engineer has made it pretty clear at the meetings I've been to that the longer we keep the trailers, the more money the district is just pouring down a hole, for all the reasons that they're inefficient. They're hard to heat, they're hard to cool, they're hard to maintain. That the district would be doing better in the long run if it just bit the bullet, paid the cost of some new facilities, and got rid of the trailers.